Viewers, welcome to Radio Metro Mail. You are watching Catch Up on Radio Metro Mail. I am Emamul Haque, your today's host. In Catch Up, we invite people who are interested in politics or wish to be in the politics. On 7th June, in 3 more weeks to go, we will have our Ontario provincial election. There are 3 major parties, those who are the major players in upcoming election: the NDP, New Democratic Party, the PC Party, the Progressive Conservative Party, and Liberal Party. And since the election is very close, as I said, there are 3 more weeks to go, probably many of the candidates, they have already started knocking on our doors. Today in Catch Up, we have a special guest, a young, spirited lady, the woman, who has got the nomination from NDP, New Democratic Party, and her riding is, she is contesting for the election, and her riding is Scarborough Southwest. Thank you very much, Doly, for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure to have you on our program.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
If we start with your career means, if you just give us some idea about yourself, what you are doing, and about your riding to our audience, that would be great.
About myself,
Yeah.
As you know, I'm the candidate for Scarborough Southwest for MPP. I have grown up in Scarborough Southwest. I've lived here for about 14 years. I went to school here, SATEC at W. Porter, that many of our kids are going now. I also went to University of Toronto, St. George. I have a master's in development and planning from UCL. And in terms of my career,
UCL means University College London.
University College London, sorry, yes.
Okay.
I worked at the University of Toronto Students' Union for a few years. I'm also the research officer at Society of Energy Professionals, where we represent a lot of energy workers and lawyers, IT professionals. And right now I'm on leave for this few weeks for election because we're canvassing. And before that job, I was managing a campaign called Keep Hydra Public, which was to stop the sale of privatization of Hydra One.
Thank you. Thank you. You have raised that issue that you were involved in a campaign. This morning when I was watching television, I got the news that, the Hydra One, they have proposed, or they have already increased the salary of their CEO and the board of directors. So this is one aspect. So keeping that in mind, since you were involved with that campaign, so can you just give us some idea that before getting into politics, as you said, that you got involved with that campaign. So can you just tell us something about that campaign?
Of course. It was a province-wide campaign. I'm really proud of the work that we did. We went across the province from Scarborough to Thunder Bay to Sudbury, and met people around the province just to see what people felt about the privatization. Because Hydra One actually is just, it's one of the few things that this province owns. And what I mean by that is people own it. So you and I own it. And anything that we earn from it, so the dividends actually come back to the province.
Okay.
So every year, about $749 million used to come back to the province for us to use for things like our schools, our hospitals. And when the Liberal government decided to sell off Hydra One, about 83% of the people opposed it, because we knew that things like the salary increase.
So those benefits will not come to the society or these? Not
anymore. Well, it was to the province. So the government would have that money to use it for things like our school, like repairing our schools, for example. What happens now is about 53% of it is sold off to private shareholders, which means that the government doesn't have that control or
because majority is
exactly. Yeah. And when people opposed it, that was their biggest fear, is that it's a golden goose. It lays the egg. Don't sell it. We don't have a lot of things we own anymore, so don't sell it. But the Liberal government had a majority government, so they didn't really need. They were a little bit arrogant, in my opinion. So they went ahead and sold it. And now what we're facing is CEOs getting 8 times more the salary than the years before, which I think it's a little unfair because we've got working class people who are still suffering, and electricity rates went up.
Yeah.
It went up so much that some people are deciding between groceries and paying their electricity bill, or their rent and paying their electricity bill.
Okay.
That's how difficult it's been.
Okay, thank you very much. Now let's come to the your riding. So, what are the existing problems or issues that you have identified, or your party has identified, or your team has identified, in order to address those with care? Do you have certain things like that, the priorities, that these are the issues that you need to address in coming days?
Well, in my riding, in Scarborough Southwest, I think we have quite a few issues that we would like to address. But my number one issue would be addressing child poverty. Within this riding, we have some of the poorest residents. Just in Oak Ridge region, for example, we have 53, I think it's 53 or 56% of our children who are growing up in poverty. That's unacceptable. We cannot accept our children growing up in poverty. Another issue I want to address is seniors. Our seniors have given back to this economy for many, many years, and they deserve to live their last few years in respect, and we want to make sure that they receive the care they deserve. Another issue I would address is also transit. Getting, just within this riding, getting from one corner to another, it's so difficult. You have to take 2-3 buses to go from one end of, this riding to another end. It shouldn't be this way. It should be a lot easier to get to where you want to go to.
So you're talking about the TTC services?
Yes. So buses, for example, subways, and I would say the operation of it. So you're not waiting for an hour for a bus. They don't break down in the middle of your ride.
Okay. Thank you very much. So the other issue is that domestic violence. I think, unfortunately, even in Canada, even in Ontario, we often see the domestic violence at home, right?
Yeah.
So, do you think that your riding is also having the same problem, or how do you like to address those, if you really think that this is an issue in your riding as well?
I think the sad truth is it's everywhere. I think it's in this riding as well as other ridings in this province. And I think one of the biggest issue with, the number one issue with that is sometimes because of the stigma, we don't like to address it. Or because of fear, we're not able to address it. And from my volunteer experience in the past, I know for a fact that this province does face that. People, from all backgrounds, where we have, for example, I think women face it more, but I would say domestic violence it occurs for children as well, for men as well. So I would say it does exist, and the NDP actually has a good platform to address that, and I'm very proud of that.
Okay, so if we really want to address that issue, so what are the basic things that we need to address or take care of?
I think we have to first recognize that it exists.
Yeah.
And the second step is also understand different cultural differences. So sometimes what we try to do is we try to find a fix without understanding how this culture works, for example. So we impose our way of changing things instead of understanding what goes on in that household. The dynamics in that household, why that individual is not coming out and sharing what he or she is going through. If a wife, for example, is abused, I'm sure there are many reasons. And I was involved in victim services, where I got to volunteer there and learn about counseling, crisis counseling. And one of the things we did was, you have to understand why she's hiding that, for example, because it could be that her children, who she loves so much that she doesn't want to let go of her children. It also could be that she's afraid of losing the status she has, or maybe she doesn't have her IDs. So there are all these barriers.
Social stigma is also attached with all these things.
A huge one. It's definitely a huge one.
So you are proposing basically that we should have a culturally sensitive activities programs, which is culturally very much sensitive.
Exactly.
That's good. And you already mentioned about the child poverty. So, and the child care also is related with that. So we see that even often it is quite a hot topic in the community. They talk about this, that they can't afford this child care things. So do you have any specific plan for that?
We do, actually. One of our top platform plans is to have a really rigorous childcare program, which is for folks who are living, households with income less than $40,000 will get free childcare, allowing the parents to go back to work. And for those who make above $40,000, it's $12 a day.
Okay.
Daycare,
And with regard to the education, so there are a number of issues that we found that people are talking about in the community. One is school maintenance has been underfunded, a long wait list for special education support, student poverty is one of the issues. You have also indicated that, lack of good nutrition. So unequal allocation of resources, because different schools, they don't get the same kind of resources that they need. So how will you address these issues, or your government party is planning to address those issues, even in your riding?
Yeah. First, I want to share something, which is I'm one of the few candidates who's received endorsement from OSSTF, which is the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation, and the party has actually also received endorsement from ETFO, which is the Elementary Teachers Federation, and that's because we have a really good plan to fix that. Right now, our classrooms are packed. We have over 40 students in one classroom with one teacher. I don't think the students will be receiving the level of attention they need from the teacher with that many students. Even for kindergartens, for example, if you have that many kids, how is the teacher supposed to look after each one of them, give that attention they need? So what we want to do is we want to increase the staffing, the funding, as well as making sure that there is the level of funding across the province is done in a way that's fair. The Liberal government, actually the Conservative government was the one who sort of messed around with the way funding worked and the power that the ground level had for our schools. And the Liberal government actually ran on a promise to fix that, but we haven't seen that yet. And we want to fix that for sure.
Thank you. And the other issue is health. Definitely, whenever we talk about community, particularly low-income, families, health is a big issue.
Yeah.
And we found that overflowing emergency wards, long waiting time, insufficient number of beds, long-term care is not sufficient. All these issues, they brought in when they talk about their issues. So what is your plan, or how do you think that we can fix this problem?
Well, first we need to make sure that our healthcare is properly funded. Over the last decade or so, well, actually, just recently, we started funding our hospitals properly. I'm sure you know that I was part of something called the Scarborough Health Coalition, which is a local branch of the Ontario Health Coalition. And one of the things they fought for was making sure that the government keeps up with the funding that we need. And if you can't keep up with the price of goods, for example, with inflation, then we're not giving hospitals, the beds, the staff that we need. Right now, we have nurses doing admin jobs. That messes up the whole system. That's not how it should be. We have, our seniors getting treated on at the hallway, and that's not the level of respect they deserve. So what we want to make sure that we have enough staff, we have enough beds in our hospitals, so that we can, people don't have to wait for an entire night to go see an emergency doctor.
Thank you, thank you. Viewers, you are watching Catch Up on Radio Metro Mail, and we are talking to Doly Begum. Doly Begum, she is running an election at the upcoming. She's contesting for election, and her riding is Scarborough Southwest. So let us come back to our point, what we were discussing. The other thing is the homelessness. I think it's an issue across the the province. So do you think that the homelessness or the affordable housing, definitely, because as you said that 53% almost the families, they are living in poverty. So how do you plan to address that affordable housing or homelessness issues?
I'm really proud of the NDP's platform that we released recently, which actually includes about 65,000 affordable housing to build over the next 10 years, because we need a lot more affordable housing. Right now, we are not addressing this properly. And in my past working at City Hall, I learned how the budget impacts people. I learned how many people in our city, we live in one of the best cities in the world, I think, in one of the best countries, which is why I'm sure that families like ourselves immigrated here. But it breaks my heart to see that people are still living on the street. It shouldn't be that way.
Thank you. So there are a number of issues that you have raised that you are planning to address those issues. Viewers, now will see. I think I just want to add one more thing, that if you are elected, hopefully you will, So what would be your priority for the first year?
The first year, I think there are quite a few priorities, but what I want to do first is what I mentioned before, is to address child poverty. I want to make sure that that people in this riding are represented well and their interest is heard. I know our seniors have been raising their concerns about the way they're treated. We want to make sure that we address that. We want to make sure that our children are getting the best education they deserve. And we want to make sure that our parents who came here with so many dreams, we turn them into reality. And I will make sure that I represent people's interest, and I will be there, and I will show up to things like the way an employee of the people should.
Thank you very much. So the other thing I would like to ask you, you are born in Bangladesh, right? Mm-hmm. So you migrated when you were what age?
11 years old.
11 years old. So, and most of our viewers, our listeners on Radio Metro Mail are from Bangladesh, or they speak Bangla language, they are Canadian Bangladeshi. So do you have any specific message for them?
I think my message to them would be to, well, first, I hope I can count on your blessing and your support. I've taken a very big step, and that's because I believe that our community can work together and make me step forward that many of our children one day hope to do, and it becomes normal for many of the girls that look like me to run in politics and to end up in Queen's Park or Parliament in Ottawa.
So what motivates you? You are, compared to many other candidates, you are quite young. So what is your motivation to get into the politics?
I think it was the way the condition of this riding has been. We've been left behind for many things. People are frustrated. People need help. People have raised their concerns, but they haven't been heard. And also personally, I've seen after an accident, my father went through the healthcare system from hospital to rehab, and I've seen the way he was treated. I think we have him because of the public healthcare system that we have, and I want to make sure that these kind of services are kept, maintained well, so that people in this province can use it and when they need it. And that's very important for everyone, and I want to make sure that I'm able to be a part in that, to make sure that we bring that care back. We provide the services that our people need.
Okay, sure, definitely. So the last thing, since you are a young woman, spirited woman, as I said earlier, so do you have any specific message for the young people?
I would say don't get scared. If you want to help people, if you want to if you work hard, and if you want to help people, then just step forward, do it, because you can. And no matter what the barriers will be, keep trying. That's one of the things that I did, and it helped me. And there are people here. Our parents are here. Our community is here, and I'm here. If there is a young woman or a man from our community, who wants to step forward in politics or in community service, come talk to me. I would be happy to chat. But make sure that you don't give up.
Thank you very much, Doly Begum.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Viewers, you were watching Catch Up on Radio Metro Mail, and we have that election on 7th June, Ontario provincial election. So I hope that those who are living in this riding, definitely they will cast your vote. You will cast your vote, and it's very simple process. You can, in different ways you can cast your vote. So you just need a simple ID which shows your name and your address. If you want to go for some other option, want to take some other option for voting, so you can go and check online Ontario election website and see how you can cast your vote even if you are not around. Thank you very much for watching our program. In our next episode, we'll bring another guest. Till then, take care, stay well. Thank you very much.